Okay.
Okay, we're live, guys. Ram, take it away.
जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जीव की जय। जयम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्रिला प्रविष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला प्रविष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला प्रविष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। आचार्य केशरी परम गुरुदेव नित्रिला प्रविष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु नित्रिला प्रविष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। महाभागवत शिल गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। सप्तम गोस्वामी सच्चिदानंद शिल भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। श्री गौड़ी वेदांताचार्य शिल बलदेव विद्याभूषण प्रभु की जय। श्री गौड़ी रसाचार्य शिल विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। श्री नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्रय की जय। श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। व्यास भिन्न श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शर गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री भूगर्भ गोस्वामी की जय। श्री लोकनाथ दास गोस्वामी की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर गोस्वामी राय रामानंद सिखी महिति माधवी देवी गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री अंतरद्वीप मायापुर श्रीमंत द्वीप गोद्रुम द्वीप मध्य द्वीप कोलद्वीप ऋतुद्वीप जनद्वीप मोत्रद्रुम द्वीप रुद्राद्वीपात्मक श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप धाम परिक्रमा की जय। परिक्रमाकारी भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वादशवनात्मक श्री ब्रज मंडल की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर राधा दामोदर राधा रमन राधा गोकुलानंद जीव की जय। श्री ललिता विशाखा चित्रा इंदुलेखा चंपकलता रंग देवी तुंग विद्या श्री देवी आदि सखी वृंद की जय। श्री अनंग मंजरी की जय। श्री रूपरति कमल नयन विनोद रमन मंजरी आदि मंजरी वृंद की जय। सर्वभीष्ट प्रदाता श्री गिरिराज गोवर्धन महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। कुलदेवी भगवती पौर्णमासी देवी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जी की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय। भक्ति विघ्न विनाशनकारी नरसिंह भगवान की जय। भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चारों धाम चारों आचार्य चारी संप्रदाय की जय। आकर मद्रास श्री चैतन्य मठ की जय। श्री केशव जी गौड़ी मठ श्री रूप सनातन गौड़ी मठ गोपीनाथ भवन गिरिधारी गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री श्री केशव जी गौड़ी मठ कोलद्वीप धाम एवं शिल गुरुदेव समाधि मंदिर की जय। जय श्री दामोदर रमन बिहारी राधा माधव गौरवाणी गंगा माता गौड़ी मठ की जय। अन्य शाखा मत समूह की जय। कलयुग पावन त्रिभुवन मंगलकारी गोलोकेर प्रेम धन हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। जुगल नाम हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। मृदंग करताल की जय। आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जय नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति कमल गोविंद महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति स्वरूप दामोदर महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् गौर गोविंद गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वैभव पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति कुमुद संत गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति जीवन जनार्दन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति दैत माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति श्री रूप सिद्धांति गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्रिला विष्णु विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रमोद पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। स्वपरिकर जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। वृंदावन वासी भक्त वृंद की जय, नीलाचल वासी भक्त वृंद की जय, नवद्वीप धाम वासी भक्त वृंद की जय, गौरदेश वासी भक्त वृंद की जय, जय देशे वैश्य गौरांगी रगन की जय, समागत भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रीपाद भक्ति वेदांत त्रिदंडी महाराज की जय, all assembled devotees की जय, on Zoom, Facebook and YouTube की जय, श्री नवद्वीप धाम परिक्रमा की जय, परिक्रमाकारी भक्त वृंद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। कवि गौरवने सुरध्वनि तते, हा राधे हा कृष्ण बोले, कवि गौरवने सुरध्वनि तते, हा राधे हा कृष्ण बोले, कांदिया बेड़ावो देह सुख छाड़ी, नाना लता तरुतले. Oh, when, giving up all bodily pleasures, will I wander under various trees and vines on the banks of the Ganga in Sri Navadvip Dham, weeping and calling out, Ha Radhe, Ha Krishna. स्वपच गृहते मांगिया खाइबो, पिबो सरस्वती जल, पुलिने पुलिने गड़ा गरी दीबो, कोरी कृष्ण कोलाहल. I shall eat by begging from the homes of the untouchables and drink water from the Saraswati river. I shall roll on the ground on the river's bank, loudly calling out Shri Krishna's name. Dhamavasi jane pranati koriya, mangibo kriparalesha, Vaishnava charana renu gaya makhi, dhoriya vadhuta vesha. Offering my obeisances to all the Dhamvasis, I shall beg a drop of mercy from them. Smearing the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas upon my body, I shall don the cloth of a Navadvip. Gaura braja jana bhedana dekhibo, hoibo baraja bansi, dhamera swarupa spuri benayane, hoibo radhara dasi. I shall see no distinction between the residents of Gaur and those of Braj, and will thus become a true Brajavasi myself. The transcendental form of the Dham will appear to my vision, and I shall become a maidservant of Sri Radha. Kabe Gaura Banin Suradhani Tate, Ha Radhe Ha Krishna Bole, Kandiya Berabo Deha Sukha Chari, Nana Lata Tarutale, Jaya Navadvipadham, Jaya Navadvipadham, Navadvipdham, Jaya Navadvipadham, Jaya Navadvipadham, Jaya Navadvipadham, Navadvipdham, Jaya Navadvipadham, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai.
Jai Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Thank you, dear Ramananda Prabhu. Haribo. Om Gyan Tirumandasya Gyanjana Salakaya Chakshon Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurve Namaha Vanchakalpa Trubhischa Kripasinduevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namamaha Trinaadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manarina Kitni Sadahari Tatenu kampam susamik shamno bunjanavetma kritam vipikam hitak papudevi didam namaste jivata yo mukta sadaya bak anya balasata sunyam gyan kamadhyanavirtam anukalenya krishna shilanam bhakti utama Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Maiva Kevalam Kalanastyeva Nastyeva Nastyeva Agati Anyata Jai Gurudev Jai Prabhupada Jai Sarupa Rupanuga Guruvag Jai Rupa Goswami Jai Jai Raghunath Das Goswami Jai Rupa Goswami Jai Nitai Jai Gauranga Jai Jai Shishi Radha Krishna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadata Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I pay my humble obeisances to our Parampara, Rupanuga, Raganuga Parampara, to all the assembled devotees, to all the devotees partaking in the physical Parikram, the Zoom Parikram, Facebook, YouTube, and those who watch the recordings. Hare Krishna. So today we're on day 2, but we're on day 1 proper of the actual physical walking Parikram. We did the Sankalpa yesterday. And we will be swiftly moving to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sridhani Maharaj, who will acquaint us with the map, and then he'll talk about Navadwip, and then Sriman Rajanath Prabhu will be talking about Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat, and then we move to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, who will elucidate on the matters regarding Yogapit, and then back to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sridhani Maharaj, who will elucidate on Srivas Angam. And then I'll be talking about Advaita Bhavan and Gadada Angam. And then back to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, who will expand on matters concerning Chaitanya Mat. And then over to our dear Sripad Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj, who will extol the pastimes of Gorakishore Das Babaji Samadhi. And then we'll be finishing with Sriman Madhuvrat, who will, his discourse will be on Chankazi Samadhi. So we've got a very rich day today, and I will now hand over to my dear friend and beloved Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sridhani Maharaj. Haribol Maharaji, Haribol.
Dandavat Yashoda, Dandavat Pranams, Hare Krishna to everybody. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru and all the wonderful Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees on this thread and in future who might be listening on recordings, etc. My Dandavat Pranams to all of you. So thank you particularly Yashoda Prabhu for hosting and facilitating this Parikramma again. So today, just to keep us all up to speed, if you were staying in the Keshavji Gaudiya Mat, we would have all together perhaps 5,000 or 7,000 yatris have traveled across the Ganga by boat. That's always quite an experience, grappling down with the pushing, etc., getting onto the boats and crossing over from Navadwip Ghat to Mayapur Ghat. So that's been our route this morning. And we've arrived in Antardwip. And yesterday, I went through the different islands with you. So I want to refresh daily so that by the end of 5-6 days, all of us will have a very clear impression of these islands and the shape of them. and how they are connected to the 9 limbs of bhakti. Our Shripad Nemi Maharaj beautifully explained yesterday how Antadvip is the beginning and the end of the circumambulation of Navadwip. We start from Antadvip and we should finish actually on Gopurnim Day by visiting the Yog Pit in Antadvip. So Antadvip is that place of full surrender, Atmanivedanam. So at the beginning, we need the Atmanivedanam, and at the end, we need the Atmanivedanam. So I'm just going to scroll right around quickly, and then I'm going to describe something about Antadvip, and I'm going to read again from this very beautiful Navadvip Dham Mahatmya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which, by the way, we traditionally read from, or Parijatak Maharaj, he reads from each time we come out on the large parikramas. Then he will read some verses to set the tone, to set the mood, following Bhaktivinoda Thakur's indications and instructions of how to focus and conduct ourselves around in this most auspicious parikrama. So from Antadvip, we will move consecutively to Simantadvip, which is the Anga of Shravanam. That's just above there. And then we'll come around across the Jalangi, which is actually the Saraswati. We can call it Jalangi or Saraswati. And then we'll come in through Nrsimhapali, and we'll come to Godrum Dweep, which is the Kirtan, the Anga of Bhakti of Kirtan. And then we'll come to Madhya Dweep, the place of the sages and Naimisharanya, etc. And then we'll take the leap over the Ganga and come into Kola Dweep, Kola, that boar incarnation, most ecstatic personality that we have represented in our Devananda Gaudimat and in our Keshavji Gaudimat. And then we will come to Ritu Dweep, the place of all the 6 seasons. And the king of the season there, spring season, there's a beautiful conversation we'll narrate later there. So this is the Anga of
Archanam.
Archanam. Yes, worship. Thank you, Shoda. You're on it. Very good. Archanam, yes.
I'm just reading the map, actually.
Well, that's good. I can't read it. Okay. Archaman, yes. And then we come to Jana Dweep, that's place of the sage Jana. And then Modrum Dweep, and then Rudra Dweep. So it's like a spiral. It's not difficult to catch it. And once you've caught it once in your life, you'll have it the impression forever. So 4 islands on one side of the Ganga and 5 islands on the other side of the Ganga.
And Maharaj, you got some tilak up here.
Yes, that's what it looks like. Very good. Very good. So we should understand the phenomena that when Mahaprabhu left his pastimes in 1532, I think that's the
34.
date.
34.
1534, that Ganga Devi, out of separation, she rose and she covered all of these areas for 100 years. All of the pastime places, Navadvip, etc., was all covered. And then when she receded, the pastime places again were revealed. So the dynamic of the Navadvip Mandal, it reveals itself and it disappears at will. So we should just appreciate that. It's a very wonderful pastime to consider of Ganga Devi. Out of separation, she rises, she swells, and for 100 years. So all the locations become like Navadvip is on the other side. It's on the western side. When Mahaprabhu was present, it was on the eastern side. So things have changed around due to the course of Mother Ganga. So I want to read again from this Navadwip Mahatmya, just to put us something more in the mood. So I'm reading from chapter 5. It's on page 83 of the little book, if you can see that little book. So Sri Nityananda Prabhu told Sri Jiva Goswami, this Navadwip Dham, which extends over 16 koshas, approximately 32 miles, is certainly non-different from Sri Vrindavan. In these 16 koshas, there are 9 dvips, or islands. Just like an 8-petaled lotus flower floats on the water, this Navadwip is also like a lotus flower with 8 petals, which are the 8 islands. Antardvip is in the middle, and like a dot, at the very center of this Antardvip lies Mayapur. Very soon, by the desire of Mahaprabhu, this place by itself become hidden by the water of the Bhagirati. So this is what I just described to you, how when Mahaprabhu leaves, the Bhagirati, Ganga Devi, she rises, she swells, and she covers this dam, and then again she recedes, and again it's exposed. When sometime later Mahaprabhu's desire to manifest the Dham again becomes strong, this radiant Dham will be revealed. The eternal Dham can never be lost by time. Rather, sometimes it remains in a hidden form and sometimes it is manifest. So it's never lost. Of course, it can't be lost. We know the story. In a few days, we'll be talking about Surabhikunj and how Markandeya Rishi was actually saved from the pralaya, because this Dham is always manifest. So Mahaprabhu, Markandeya Rishi was floating in the ocean of devastation, but he was saved by Surabhi cow. So just confirming that this Dham is never inundated entirely. My Lord is eternally residing in Mayapur, which is situated on the eastern bank of the Bhagirati Ganga. So there's some contention today, even that some are trying to claim that the real Mayapur is on the western bank, but here it's confirmed in our Navadwip Dham Parikaram book, Mahatmya, that it's on the eastern bank, where the temple is rising today. Although from a mundane point of view, Vishwambara Mahaprabhu takes sannyas and leaves Navadwip to wander through many different places, nevertheless, my Gauranga Mahaprabhu never leaves the village of Mayapur in Navadwip Dham to go elsewhere. This is exactly the same as Krishna. He never leaves Vrindavan. So this is something for the devotees to meditate on and to appreciate. Surrounding Mayapur in all directions is the radiant Antardvip. This is where we've come today. We've crossed the Ganga with thousands of devotees, and we've come to Antardvip. We've come to the very core, the center of the lotus petal, where Brahma obtained Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's darshan. So just to explain here, Antar means internal. So Lord Brahma, he was feeling that he wasn't satisfied with himself in being forgiven by Krishna for stealing the cows and cowherd boys at Vatsavan. And he still felt repentant in his heart. He still was holding some reservation about being fully forgiven. So just as Indra was, we're going to hear in Surabhikunj, comes to pray for the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So Lord Brahma, knowing that Mahaprabhu is the most munificent avatar, would appear here in this Kali Yuga. He came and was meditating deeply for a long period of time, and Mahaprabhu appears, Gauranga Mahaprabhu appears, and Lord Brahma has darshan, and just by darshan of Mahaprabhu, especially his golden complexion and his radiant Audarya mood of all forgiving. Then Lord Brahma, he becomes pacified in his heart. And he feels, yes, my Lord has genuinely forgiven my horrendous offense, because it was a huge offense. He was challenging Krishna's Yogamaya potency, basically, considering his own potency was superior to Krishna. He had already met the Lord Brahma, in the Chatushloki. These verses are described in the Bhagavatam, how Lord Brahma, he gets these instructions from. And the first instruction that Lord Brahma is requesting Krishna, before he actually gives him the Chatushloki, is please never let me forget you. Let me always have you prominent in my heart and focus. Let me never become proud of this creation I'm about to manifest. That was his first request. So we see in the pastime of Vatsavan how that didn't happen. He actually thought he would challenge this apparent cowherd boy. So when Lord Brahma becomes forgiven or feels pacified in his heart, then this, for future posterity, this island takes the name of Antardvip, the center. Also, it's the internal center of the whole lotus, because it's where the birth of Mahaprabhu took place at the Yoga Pit, we will discuss later. But in this place, this is non-different to Mathura. This is non-different to Mahavan. This is non-different to Gokul in Braj. It's the same. It's the same. It's a replica of that Braj. Everything in Mayapur is a replica of Sri Vrindavan Dham. This we must realize deeply. Our beloved Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj used to say, Navadwip Dham, Gaura Dham, Navadwip Dham, Gaura Dham, same. He would say like this in a very inspired mood many times. And our Gurudev has also reiterated that mood, same, Vrindavan and Mayapur, same, except Vrindavan has specialities of Audarya, of mercifulness. This is why the devotees come to take shelter here, because the mercy is flowing thicker than even in Vrindavan. So I'll continue reading. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who's taking Jiva Goswami on a parikrama, on the very first parikrama of Navadvip. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's gauging the route that Nityananda took Jiva Goswami, and he's giving us this route. This is the route we are following when we talk about Simantadvip, then Goldandvip, Madhyadvip, Koladvip, Ritudvip, Janadvip, Modandvip, Rudradvip. These islands are the same order that Nityananda Prabhu took Jiva Goswami. So Nityananda Prabhu, overwhelmed in devotional ecstasy, walked slowly, and his divine body was intoxicated with prema for Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The Lord's enchanting form was swaying with transcendental emotions, because his emotions were so full and regal. He couldn't walk fast, just like we hear of all the associates in Vrindavan, like Shri Radhika, she walks like an elephant. Krishna, he walks like an elephant in a very regal way, holding these immense barbs in their hearts. And the ornaments that adorned his entire body were coruscating radiantly. I don't know this word. Coruscati. I've never heard that word before.
What was that word? C-O what?
Coruscatin.
Coruscating.
Coruscating, yeah. I haven't even heard.
I'll look it up. What was the sentence again, Mark?
His entire body was coruscating radiantly.
It means
So
it means to give off a flash of light or to sparkle.
I knew you would get it. I'm so happy to hear your voice, Budara. Dhanavas, Prabhu, Dhanavas. Budara is my walking dictionary, my talking dictionary. Even in their meditation, Brahma, Shiva, and others cannot obtain those lotus feet, which are now walking ahead of Sri Jiva Goswami, bestowing mercy upon him. Following behind Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva smeared the dust from the Lord's feet all over his body and walked on in delight. So we talked yesterday about our focus when we are in the Dham to smear the dust of the Dham over our bodies, because this is where the saints, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Jiva Goswami, etc., have all placed their divine lotus feet and walked. So we are aspiring for their dust of their lotus feet. So this is Antadweep, where we've come today. So this is the heart of the mandal. This is the lotus, because Mahaprabhu takes his birth here directly. So this is what we are celebrating today. And when we start walking up towards Simantadweep, we'll come to so many different mutts on our left-hand side, and some are on the right. There's the Gopinath Gaudiya Mutt. There's the Krishna Chaitanya Mutt, the Chaitanya Bhagavat Mutt, the Sri Gaudiya Mutt. There's ISKCON. There's Sri Chaitanya Chandradoya, that's ISKCON. Then there's the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mission. So we understand that all the luminaries from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, they took the mercy from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and they began their own mutts. There's no problem with this that I see anyway. I see that each personality has its own speciality that everyone can benefit from. They will be speaking to certain people, and certain people will be attracted to individuals. So this is a very wonderful experience to appreciate Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and all his illustrious disciples who formed their own mutts. There's no problem in this. Don't be thinking, oh, we all have to join the one mutt. There's room for individuality and speciality. So this is demonstrated by all these different mutts. We're going to be, of course, they all have the same vision of worshipping Sachinandan Gaura Hari, but we know that every living entity has his own Vaishishtya, his own speciality. So similarly, we are attracted to certain souls who have certain qualities and individualities that will resonate with us more than others. So there's no problem here. We shouldn't fight to all become one.
Actually, Maharaji, if you look at, although we do suffer from, politics like any other spiritual organizations, if you look at the Vani of Krishna consciousness, it's much more coherent and less splittist than all the other faiths.
Yes, ultimately the
our disagreements are relatively small compared with what I see in other Abrahamic faiths.
Yes, but the overall glorification, this really resonates here in Navadwip during this Parikram. This morning and last night on the Gaura Arti, we often read in Chaitanya Bhagavat how the thunderous kirtan seemed to split the sky asunder. Wow. And last night there were Gaura Artis going on all around here, probably 7 or 9 different Gaudiya mutts simultaneously starting up with the Gaura Arti, and it was as if the sky was splitting open with the thunderous sound of the kirtan. It was really, really moving. And the same this morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock, all the different mutts began their Mangal Arti ceremonies. So this is what it means when Mahaprabhu is talking about how splitting the sky asunder with the tumultuous sound of this kirtan. So this is what it was like here. So what I'm saying, Yashoda, is that even though we might have different mutts and so on, we are all contributing this Maha Mantra to the glorious honor of our most beloved Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So I think my time is probably pretty much close to concluding here.
Yeah.
Am I just about finished now?
Yeah,
okay,
beautiful.
So now we're going to head up the road, and our dear Brajanath Prabhu will enlighten us about the this Chaitanya Mutt, where Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, I believe.
And I think Brajanath Prabhu, Shriman Brajanath Prabhu is also going to talk a little bit about Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj as well.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful,
Nice.
beautiful.
So Brajanath Prabhu, are you there?
Navadwip ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Yes, yes.
Dandavat Pranams. Warm welcome, Brajanath. Lovely to see your glowing face.
Yes. When I saw your face, I didn't recognize you. I thought this is a very special devotee. He must be very intimately connected with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Very intimately connected with Maya, yes, indeed.
With
No,
yoga.
it's all shaved up now.
That's really our connection is with the service. And your service is actually outstanding that you are launching, even though physically we cannot be there with our devotees who are traversing this week all over the 9th heaven. By this beautiful medium of the communication via Zoom, we can still be there and hearing the glories of these amazing places. And in this way also catching the dust particles, which are, because they are spiritual, they are not limited just to the immediate environment, but it now crosses all the oceans and lands in right in front of us, in our ears. So I'll speak a little bit about the glories of the Vaishnavas, which is really our life and soul. The life and soul of the devotees is Bhakti, and Bhakti starts only when we can honor and respect the Vaishnavas, which is not easy, but at the same time it is a natural result of practicing the process of pure Bhakti as it has been presented by Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari. Today our goal is to reach the Yoga Pit, which is the center of the whole universe, from where all the waves of transcendental Gaura Prema are just flooding like a tidal wave, each and every nook and corner of the universe. So before starting, I say a short prayer. Agyanati miranda sajananjana salakaya chakshur unmiritam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Mukham karoti vacharam pangum langayate girim yat kripahamam bande Sri Guru dinatarine. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Sri Satyanandana Gaura Hare Ki Jai. Avadut Siramani Patita Pavana Prabhu Sri Nitya Ananda Ram Ki Jai. Sri Gaurmanda Parikrama Ki Jai, Sri Gaurmanda Parikram Basis Ki Jai. The party started yesterday to make beautiful vow. And I remember that just a few weeks ago, I was also very lucky to go with a very small party to visit Navadwip Dham and Yoga Pit, and also making a Sankalpa. And my good luck was that my Sankalpa is running nicely. I was desiring, and this is one of my personal commitments, or I would say, which accompanies me throughout my life, to always be in good association. Somehow or other, wherever we go, try to be in good association. I'm telling myself always, and if I am stuck somewhere, then invite the devotees to come to where I am, so that always nourishment should come to improve the condition of my heart, the condition of my very eternal identity. So crossing Ganga Devi this morning, after making the Sankalpa yesterday, our first objective is to offer ourselves at the lotus feet of Sri Satchinandana Gaura Hari. Not only for a few days, but for the rest of our life, not only one life, but as many lives as we will be in this material creation, to be there always where we can appreciate the association of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the Panchatattva, especially Sri Rupa Raghunath and Sanatan Goswami Pad, Raghunath Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and particularly Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And amongst that, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and his followers. Why all this is so amazing to experience? Because in their shelter, in their anugatya, we will only experience opportunities to increase the devotional moods in our heart, to render service which will please Sri Krishna. That service starts particularly when we learn to appreciate devotees and see that they are non-different from Bhagavan. Although we may have some faith in scripture, definitely, and some faith in Harinam, definitely, and some faith in Thakurji and Seva of Thakurji. But our progress really will start if we see that the devotees, they are non-different from Harinam, non-different from Thakurji, non-different from the transcendental nature of Sri Krishna's pastimes. So without the devotees, where is our hope? Without their kindness, their magnanimity, especially the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we cannot progress even 1 inch. So 2 devotees today, amongst the many, 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 we are about to visit their residence, their place of bhajan, and the followers who are residing there. Their followers. The first place where we will go is the Sri Gopinath Gaudiya Math, which is established by Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, one of the great Vaishnavas, who in his very early beginning of Sri Gaudiya, Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, the Gaudiya mission of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he joined Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and personally followed each and every instruction he received from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Very beautiful contribution he has given to all of us. First of all, by his own example, how to perform bhajan. And secondly, by the beautiful result of his bhajan, that is, that he was very carefully, always dedicated to please his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. From beginning, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj was ordered to edit and to publish the written glories of the process of pure bhakti as it was presented and requested by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. His order came in the beginning of his devotional career in this life. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, you are head editor, or what is it, managing editor of my publication department. Then he said, what? How will I perform this? I have no experience. Then Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, all experience will automatically manifest in you as much as you dedicate yourself to fulfill this order. In other words, in the order, all the ingredients to make the order perfected, they are included. And sure enough, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, throughout his whole life, he dedicated himself to publish and to edit, for in as much that was possible, the written Harikatha from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and the books that were presented by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, especially the books that were written by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And because of that, the Bhagirati Ganga, the flow, the pure Ganga or Bhagirati from Sri Satchinandana Gaura Hari became manifest throughout the whole world in the written, published book form, which is also called Brihat Mridanga. So how indebted we are, how much we are benefited by Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj's contribution of publishing these books. If it was not for him, we would not have so easily access to this great literature, which glorify what? Especially all our glorifications of the Sri Bhakti, which are the 8 written teachings that Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari left for all his followers, in which all the essence of the Vedas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ujjval Nilamani, Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, all the great literatures that have been produced in glorification of the conceptions of pure bhakti, they are within these 8 beautiful prayers of Sri Shikshashtakam. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, we offer our Dandavat Pranams and we pray for his blessings that we can very beautifully continue our Parikrama. That means our whole life is leading us to the shelter of Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari's lotus feet. That is real meaning of Parikrama, that we can always be under the guidance and under the umbrella and shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari. And who else but Sri Nityananda Prabhu can give us that shelter? And who else but the followers of Sri Nityananda Prabhu can guide us to that shelter? And who are there, especially the followers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who is a manifestation of the beautiful Unnata Ujjvala Rasa Swabhakti Sri, and the beauty of the service of Sri given by Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari, and especially distributed everywhere around the whole universe by Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So that Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he inaugurated the true meaning of the Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Sriyam. How? By distributing that which is the heart of the gopis, the glories of the separation mode of the Brajavasis, especially gopis, especially Manjaris. And Sri Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj is completely empowered, sent by Sri Satyananda Gaura Hari himself to assist Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada in spreading the glories of that beautiful separation mode of Brajavasis. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, his whole life is an example how to do bhajan, and his followers. I often remember those who are following him, and as Pujyapat Tridandi Maharaj said, they may seem to have some differences amongst each other, but that is the uniqueness of our individuality. The challenge, however, is that where can we congregate? Where can we be in harmony? Where can we be in joy? Celebrating the greatest gift that has become our heart's property, our heart's wealth, our heart's treasure. So Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, the way he performs bhajan is immaculate. It is outstanding. Whatever I have heard, I just repeat 1 or 2 things. First of all, he said the duty of each and every student or follower of their Gurudev is to continue the rest of their lives to discuss the teachings of their Gurudev, to sit with each other, to come together and deepen our understanding of the teachings of our beloved Gurudev. So given this in mind, we have a huge opportunity, which is so favorable, because the teachings and instructions of Sri Guru are the wealth, and they are the essence or the Amrita, the nectar that nourishes the bhakti of the followers. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, in the way that he performs sadhan and bhajan, the art of sadhan is a beautiful book written by him, introduced by him, a beautiful recommendation for those devotees who are lacking some strength. Please take shelter and read even small sections of that book, and it will give us so much inspiration. The second thing I want to share about Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj is the way that he lived his beautiful Vaishnava life. After the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, we all know there was some turmoil, some chaos, and everything was kind of in a very confused situation. And Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, what he did, he only took shelter with his godbrothers. He didn't establish any mat of his own. He especially took shelter where we are coming now. That is the mat of Sri Bhakti Dvaita Madhava Goswami Maharaj, or Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat. Yeah, this is the next stop in our parikrama, where we all sit together and we hear the glories of Sri Satyanandana Gaura Hari, how he himself was performing very beautiful pastimes in the garden Ishodhana in Navadwip. Yeah, this is the garden of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very much adjacent to Sri Yogapit. We have arrived now in that garden of Sri Satyanandana Gaura Hari, where he performed for 24 years beautiful pastimes, yeah, with his associates, relishing the waves, the moods, the mellows, and where he is eternally performing his Ashtakaliya Lila. Yeah. From there, he is starting his Sankirtan party throughout the whole 9 islands with all his associates. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj relished and deeply absorbed after a long life, yeah, of being in the association of his godbrothers, serving them in their mats. Finally, at the ripe old age of 80 years, yeah, I think that was about his age when he himself established his own mat on the request of his godbrothers. Yeah, that was Sri Gopinath Gaudiya Mat. And he remained with us till over 100 years. And although he never traveled outside of India, and although it was for him at times a little challenging to see all these Westerners suddenly flood, yeah, he couldn't believe what was happening, how Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada attracted all these Westerners coming to India. But he himself, he also followed that same example and accepted so many beautiful Western followers who were, yeah, at that time, so lucky to get the shelter of such a Mahabhagavad devotee. So his bhajan was immaculate. Up till 11 o'clock in the morning, he would not see anyone. He would rise early, chant the holy names, yeah, read Srimad Bhagavatam, do many, many prayers. If you want to know more details, you can ask Pujapat Bhakti Vibhut Bodai Maharaj. He often explains the way he was performing bhajan. And no matter who wanted to see him up till 11 o'clock, no one was allowed to interfere with his practices. And after that, he was fully available. Also, he was very expert at establishing Thakur Seva, the deities that were established all over the Gaudiya Vaishnava community in the different mats. Oftentimes, the one who would, yeah, establish and inaugurate the initiation or the Pran Pratishtha of Thakurji, it was Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, ideal, yeah, Vaishnava. Now we come to Pujavat Bhakti Dvaita Madhava Goswami Maharaj mat, proceeding from Sri Gopinath Gaudiya Mat, very short distance, only like 100 meters.
It's over 15 minutes, Prasha.
Okay, Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhava Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev glorifies him, yeah, in such a beautiful way. After Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada left, as I said, there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of dissension amongst the followers, and many godbrothers felt not welcome, not accommodated, yeah, and not even appreciated by their godbrothers. But Bhakti Dvaita Madhava Goswami Maharaj, he made it his priority to invite all those godbrothers, not only those, but all the godbrothers. Daily, he would hold a festival for all his godbrothers, and the Vaishnavas who were leading different mats, they would all come together, and he would have a big kirtan, Aarti ceremony, and every day he would allow different Vaishnavas to speak, and he would personally serve all of them Mahaprasadam. And after all of them left, he himself would take the remnants of all the plates, yeah, in a very humble way. So then one time a devotee asked him, Maharaj, how are you doing this? Where do you get the funds to host a festival every day, yeah, for the Vaishnavas? He replied that in the spiritual world, he said, there is a festival going on every day, and all the Vaishnavas are participating. All the intimate associates of Satchidananda Gaura Hari are fully absorbed in that festival. So what we will do in the spiritual world, unless we practice it here, we cannot enter that beautiful realm. So he said, therefore, every day I'm holding a festival. And there is no lack of funds, he said, in the spiritual world. If I have no funds, he said, I will borrow back the funds to continue this beautiful festival program. So he's a great contributor to harmony, to unity, and especially to honoring all the Vaishnavas, no matter in what condition they are, they should always be accommodated. That was his beautiful teaching. So we are now very proud to visit that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mat or Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat. If anyone visited that, they can see the beauty, how beautiful the devotees are following the ideals of their spiritual master. Very beautifully crafted samadhi and very beautiful Thakur Seva, and the whole environment is very, very nicely maintained. Radha Kund, Shama Kund, everyone is there, Govardhan. I saw a small video this morning. They even have a replica of Govardhan holding up as an umbrella by Sri Krishna. Underneath are all the Brajavasis, and from the top, constant water is flowing. Constant, a very beautiful diorama. So I'll stop here, and I beg all of you to bless me that I can fulfill my sankalpa, that the rest of whatever this life and next lives to come, I can always have the ideal association of those Vaishnavas who are extremely merciful, who have that beautiful capacity to transfer the moods of Sri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu, the gift that they have come to give in the heart of all, and that I may have a little opportunity to assist them and contribute and bring happiness to their hearts. Sri Satinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Sri Gaurmanda Parikram Ki Jai, Sri Gaurmanda Parikram Vasis Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari.
Thank you, Brajanath. I've actually, thank you for mentioning the art of sadhana, and just everyone, if you go into chat, I've downloaded the book. Sorry, I've uploaded the book. So if you want to download Art of Sadhana, you can. It is a very instructive and beautiful book. Okay, great. We move over to Yoga Pit. Well, I don't think Maharaj is at Yoga Pit, but in mind we go to Yoga Pit and Shripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. Haribol Maharaji. I always think you're like reporting from the front. You look like you're reporting from the front line. Yeah, you just need to unmute. We go to Nemi Maharaj, who's reporting from the front line of the Navadwip Parikaram, where the sky is being split asunder by the raucous sounds of kirtan. Haribol.
Yeah, I'm using a microphone, so I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me.
We can hear you very well.
Very good. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, how much?
15, 1-5.
15. Okay, 1-5, got it. Omagyanitimirandhasya yananjana shlakaya chakshunmalitang yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namah Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane. Vanchakalpatarubhashta Kripasindhabhyevacham Putitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Offering my humble obeisances and lotus feet to my beloved Diksha Guru Nichile Parishta Shishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Lotus feet to my beloved Shiksha and Sannyas Guru Rupa Nugavara Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My beloved Shiksha Guru Shri Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. And all our Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. Offer my obeisances to all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis present, headed by our senior senior devotees, Vaishnavis, and especially our Tridandigan, which by Tridandi Maharaj, and I'm not sure who else is here. Many millions of years ago, there was a big drama where the demons and the demigods churned the ocean of milk with Mount Meru, no, Mandara Mountain. And one of the first things that came out of the ocean was the moon. I mean, the scale of this is just extraordinary. So similarly, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as far as I understand, quoting from Sri Sarab Damodar Goswami, he said that Krishna, desiring to understand or realize the glories of Srimati Radhika's love, his own sweetness, which only she can taste by her love, and the happiness she feels when she tastes his sweetness, strongly desiring these, to achieve these moods, which in his position as Vishayalambhan, as the object of love, he could not possibly achieve or realize. So accepting the moods of Srimati Radhika, he appeared like the moon in the womb of Shri Shachi Mata. So we transferred to Yogapith, which is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his blessed appearance at the time of an eclipse, so that everyone, all the pious Hindus, were taking bath in the Ganga and they were calling the names of Hari. And the Muslims are pointing at, yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, yeah. So everybody was chanting the holy name, some or other. And he appeared, Srila Gurudev has explained, there's four main reasons, there's so many reasons. The two external reasons, one is to spread the holy name all over the world. And the other, Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Karta Pracharam, and to spread Rag Marg. Not just chanting of Hare Krishna, not just regulated devotional service, Rag Marg. To imbue devotees with a taste for entering into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna Braj, especially not only in Madhurya Ras, but primarily. Entering into the pastimes means accepting one of the inhabitants of Braj as shelter, complete shelter, and taking on their moods of service and gradually realizing the moods of that service. So that which Srila Gurudev explained that so many times. This verse, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself coming to taste what? Unnatojala rasa, Sabhakti. Sabhakti means his own bhakti. That means the bhakti of Srimati Radhika. In this blazing, glorious Madhurya mood. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was especially tasting. But he couldn't distribute that because we're not Radha Tattva. We're different Tattva. So what he distributed, especially through his followers, starting with the 6 Goswamis, and going on with Narottam Thakur, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Prabhupada, and on down, our beloved Gurudev, What are they distributing? Unnatojala Rasa Sabhakti Shri. It's the beauty of Srimati Radhika's love, which is the mood of her assistant Manjaris. So this, those are the principal external reasons. And then the internal reasons, one was Prem Ras Niryas Karitesvadan, that he wanted to taste Prem. Prem means the loving mood of serving Krishna. And Krishna can't have that, Krishna can't have that loving mood of serving himself because he's Vishayalamban. And that service mood belongs to Ashrayalamban. It's taking shelter of the devotees. So he had to take the position of his devotee, and of course, especially Srimati Radhika. So that's internal reason. And then the other internal reason was because Advaita Acharya, he was deeply, deeply aggrieved that everybody's materialist. On one occasion, I was just reading one translation of Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it says, Advaita Acharya, not caring how he was dressed, began to threaten the Lord that if you don't come, I'm going to take an 8-armed form and I'll kill everybody, or kill all the demons. He actually threw off all his clothes. In his wrath, his divine wrath. Come on, you have to come. So Advaita Acharya was calling and calling and calling, and like in agony, spiritual agony, calling, you have to come because they're all materialists. I cannot do this. None of us can do it. You have to do it. So then, like the moon from the ocean of the womb of Shachimata, little Nimai came. His grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti, an astrologer, he performed the astrology. He is such an extraordinary personality. Just recently we heard that there's 16, I'm not even pretending that I understand all the technicalities, but this much I remember, there's 16 divisions in the horoscope. And when the moon is in the ascendant in each of those 16 divisions, that means that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all incarnations. So Ramachandra, the moon is in the ascendant for 12, in 12 of those divisions. But in Krishna, in 16 of the divisions, and in Lord Chaitanya, 16 of the divisions. A very, very glorious, horoscope. So he performed beautiful pastimes from this place, Yogapeeth. As a baby, he delighted the neighbors by insisting on chanting the holy name, insisting on their chanting the holy name. He would cry and cry, and then when they chanted the holy name and clapped, then he would laugh also. So there was constant kirtan in that house, Shachimata and Jagannath Mishra. He performed funny pastimes. One time they left him in the place alone for a little while, and although he was too young to turn over, he got up and started smashing things, breaking things up, making marks on the wall. And when he heard his mother and father coming back, he lay down on the bed and started crying. And they came in. What happened? Some demon came? He was naughty. He wasn't just naughty, he was delinquent. Even as a young man, he would tie the handles of doors together so that if a man was inside the house, he couldn't get outside to pass water. And he'd make fun of their accents. And I mean, you don't expect the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do that. Then as a young boy, sometimes he sat on a snake that appeared. It was an Andashesh come to adore him, but not everybody could understand who that was. Because they're all, even his associates there, they're all his eternal associates, but they didn't recognize each other as eternal subjects of the Lord. Then another time, thieves came, stole him away. They were feeding him sweets. So he got a nice ride on someone's shoulders all through the streets. And he was getting a lot of sweets. And they became so bewildered that they dropped him. And everyone's running, where's Nimai? Where's Nimai? Where's Nimai? They put him down and they ran away. And the people would say, oh, those kind people who brought him back, they should have stayed. We would have given them a reward. And then later, he was very naughty. He would make fun of the Brahmanas, grab them like as if he was a crocodile. And then when his brother Vishnu left home and took sannyas, they all became much more sober, and he became a student, not a student, sorry. He became a student, of course, and mastered all the arts immediately, all the grammar and vocabulary and everything. And then he became a teacher in his own right. And I think my time has come up, so I will leave it at that. These are some of the amazing pastimes that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delighted in performing in his Lokik Sambandhavat pastimes. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripasanna Bhavacha Putinanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Satchidananda Gaura Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I think there's a book in there called The Delinquency of God. I think there's a book in there called The Delinquency of God.
Delinquency? Oh, we could write a book, you mean?
That would be really funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be quite startling.
I mean, it's like not a title you'd expect. I mean, people would go, what?
Yeah, if you put like Krishna's pastimes,
Yeah.
stealing, and then Lord Chaitanya's pastime, yeah, you can make a booklet out of that.
That's a great book. with pictures of all his naughty pastimes. Thank you, Marge. That was so sweet. That was beautiful.
Hare Krishna.
And I like your film location. It's very good.
Okay. I'm glad I got that right.
So we're back with Shripad Bhaktivedanta Chidandi Maharaj and Shiva Sangam. And Maharaj, you've also got 15 minutes.
Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So that was most tasteful description from our dear Shripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj of the Yog Pit. Now, if we come out of the Yog Pit and we just walk 100 yards, I'm going to read a couple of verses here from the Navadwip Mahatmya again, just to describe the mood. Our Gurudev was always talking about the mood. So we've come from this very ecstatic high place of Yog Pit, and we're coming to the mood of Shiva Sangam. Shiva Sangam is the place where Mahaprabhu performed his Satpraharya Kirtan, and the Rasa Leela was performed every single night here. This place is just soaked in Kirtan Ras. So this is the response that Jiva Goswami gives when he comes here. So where are we? Here we go. Shri Jiva began to roll in the dust of Srivas Angan, and the remembrance of Mahaprabhu's many pastimes came all at once. This is called Swarasiki Upasana, when they all come at once. If they're just individual, it's Mantra Upasana. So this is Swarasiki Upasana, all at once coming in Jiva Goswami's remembrance. Jiva became so moved by prem that the symptoms of prem in his body appeared to compete with each other. Then, just as Shri Jiva was getting up from the ground, he saw an astonishing sight. Sriman Mahaprabhu was dancing with his intimate devotees. Vallabhanandan, Shri Jiva Goswami, the son of Shri Vallabha, beheld that Maha Sankirtan and the extraordinary Mahaprabhu, who was radiantly situated in the midst of all his devotees. This is the picture. Shri Advaita Acharya, Shri Nityananda Prabhu were dancing, and Shri Gadadhar Pandit and Shri Haridas Thakur were dancing and also singing. Shri Sukalamba and hundreds of other devotees were dancing. Seeing all this, Srila Jiva was overwhelmed by prem and fell unconscious. When the vision of the pastime disappeared, Sri Jiva returned to consciousness. Now nothing was pleasing to him. This is interesting. Nothing is pleasing to the conditioned soul once he's of this sort. He continuously wept and said, "Alas, alas, why did I not take my... Alas, alas, it is not my fortune to obtain the bliss of Sriman Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan in the group of his intimate devotees." So he's feeling separation. He saw the darshan, and immediately afterwards arose the waves of intense separation, which we have heard ultimately will bring us again into the union of those divine personalities. Sri Nityananda Mahaprabhu's mercy is boundless and unlimited. Today, through the strength of his mercy, I became fortunate to have a momentary vision of this pastime. My desire is that I may reside in this Mayapur forever, because if so, my entanglement with the illusory energy Maya will be removed completely. Even the thought of leaving Mayapur is making my heart palpitate. Nevertheless, the master's order is more powerful than the servant's desire. So this is very beautiful, graphic illustration by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur of this place at Srivasangam. Srivasangam is multiple pastimes, just like we heard our dear Nemi Maharaj describing in the Yog Pit. So here, I'm just going to read a few because time is going to be brief and we won't get time to unpack them all, but just to give you the inspiration to remember them all. So this is where Mahaprabhu sat on Vishnu's throne. Mahaprabhu is a covered incarnation, and yet he sat on Lord Vishnu's throne right here in Srivasangam. He removed the shelagrams, put the shelagrams on his lap, and he sat on the throne. It's described, it even cracked under his weight. And he declared, "I am him, I am that one that you're all calling for." And then he continued to benedict all the devotees with remarkable benedictions. Hundreds of the devotees. So this was an intoxicatingly ecstatic revelation by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Srivasangam. You see, when we hear of all these pastimes that take place in these holy places, we can appreciate the atmosphere because these pastimes are eternal. So they make an indelible imprint in the actual location of where, for example, if you put your head in front of the deities at the Yog Pit, you can almost feel a tremendous magnetic type of energy emanating from that place, directly tangible. It's directly tangible to the conditioned soul today. And the same in Srivasangam. The same in Srivasangam. These ecstatic kirtans are still resonating in the atmosphere. So this place of Srivasangam is so special and particular and loved by the devotees. Also, it's the place of Mahaprabhu's Abhishek. Mahaprabhu, when he was declaring himself as that Supreme Lord, he was given Abhishek here. We understand that desire to relish Sri Radhika's moods for Krishna were in potential within the heart of Mahaprabhu. And I explained yesterday, they didn't actually reveal themselves until the Godavari. And he associated with Rai Ramananda, who is Vishaka, to get that Sakhi Bab to really taste these moods that Sri Radhika experienced. Without that introduction, without that connection through Rai Ramananda, just like we cannot get anything without Guru's mercy. And Guru's mercy is the same as Nityananda's mercy. When we say Nityananda's mercy, we can transform that into Gurudev's mercy. If you want Nityananda mercy, you get Guru's mercy. It's one and the same, non-different. So it's described that he came to give prem to everyone, including his mother, who he said at one point, "No, you are an aparadi. You've actually blasphemed Advaita Acharya. You've condemned Advaita Acharya because you're saying he's not Advaita, he's Dvaita. He's like dualistic in the sense that he convinced Vishrambar Vishwarup, brother, the elder brother of Mahaprabhu, to leave home. So Mother Sachi, she condemns Advaita Acharya for this in her mind and verbally. So Mahaprabhu is saying, this is aparad, I will not give you kripa. And then, unless you take the mercy of Advaita Acharya. So Mother Sachi, she waits until Advaita Acharya crashes to the ground unconsciously. Then she runs quickly and takes his foot dust. And all the devotees, they cheer. And then Mahaprabhu is able to give even his mother this tremendous prem, this mercy. And this is the place of Nityananda's Vyasa Puja. We call it Nityananda's Vyasa Puja because Nityananda was the personality who was performing this puja. He was given the garland to give to Vyasadeva, and yet he was holding that garland and not doing anything. And all the devotees were encouraging him, come on, you have to actually take part in this Vyasa Puja. You have to do the functions, the activities, but he wasn't doing anything until Mahaprabhu arrived, and then he placed the garland over Mahaprabhu. So this is a very beautiful pastime described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it's glorifying Nityananda's dedicated focus on Mahaprabhu. And then he showed his Satbhuj form to Nityananda Prabhu, this six-armed form of Ram with the arrow and club, and Krishna with the flute, and what else has he got? Krishna has the flute and lotus, perhaps. I've forgotten the six.
Sannyas.
No, that's Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is in the sannyas form behind.
So two arms from on the other, or
Mahaprabhu has the kundala and his sannyas danda, I think. But Krishna has the flute and a cowherd stick. Ram has an arrow and a bow. And Krishna has a cowherd stick and his flute, I think. And Mahaprabhu,
he holds the flute with two arms, Krishna.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Prajna. Thank you. Yeah, I forget these things. But that Sadbhuj form manifests. So when a manifestation of that nature manifests, just like Nrsingadev also manifested here in Srivasangam. Srivas Thakur, he was performing his puja of Nrsingadev, and Mahaprabhu began roaring very loudly. And then he manifested himself as that Nrsingadev. And just close by, he also manifested Varahadev to Marari Gupta. So when these personalities are manifested, again, it leaves an indelible impression in the atmosphere. So when the Vaishnavas come and they talk about these things, they remember these pastimes, then the reality of that, the eternal reality, will rise in the consciousness, no doubt, and the ecstasies can follow. And then, as I said, that Satpraharya Bhav, the 21-hour continuous kirtan was performed here in Srivasangam. 21 hours. Actually, every night for a whole 12 months, the kirtans were going on. That means 12 hours every single night. And they were very confidential. All the doors would be locked. No intruders were allowed. Even once Srivas was found hiding in a basket, and Srivas Thakur threw her out. Another time, someone who just drank milk and was a bit like a yogi, Mahaprabhu didn't want to accept him, but he finally did. But it was a very confidential part. These we have been described by our beloved Gurudev as the Ras Leela. These are the Ras, because in the Vrindavan pastimes are performed. Someone may question, well, where's the Ras Leela pastimes performed? This is here at Srivasangam. So how special and sacred is this place? We've just come from the mighty place of the Yoga Pit where Mahaprabhu makes his appearance, and now we've come to the ecstatic place of his pastimes at Srivasangam, which is only a couple of 100 yards north of the Yoga Pit. And then he showed, then the death of Srivas Thakur's son takes place here. We know that beautiful pastime when his son, just a young boy, left his body during the kirtan, and Srivas Thakur went out and told the women, if any of you make any noise, you know, I'm going to jump in the Ganga straight away. I won't tolerate any disturbance to Mahaprabhu's pastimes and Leelas here. So the kirtan continued, and after some time, Mahaprabhu said, something is wrong. I'm not feeling the same atmosphere. And then the devotees, they whispered in his ear, actually, Srivas Thakur's son has just left his body. This was a remarkable pastime. And then Mahaprabhu comes out and he sees the boy lying down, and he puts his hand on his chest and he wakes the boy up. He says, why have you left? And the boy says, my time has finished. My karma in this body has finished. I'm now performing pastimes in another place which are even superior to here, which is very hard to appreciate.
Wow.
But this is how the young boy describes his pastimes are in the eternal realm. So then Mahaprabhu, he says, yes, this is okay, you can go now. When he recognizes that actually Srivas Thakur's son has reached a higher destination even than that is being performed here. So this is something very beautiful to consider. And then, oh, this wonderful pastime of prasad being given to Narayani, the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur, who she's only 5 years old, and she's performing such vigorous seva during the Abhishek of Mahaprabhu, bringing all the pots of water and so on. Mahaprabhu is so impressed by her enthusiastic mood that he gives her Mahaprasad from his own hand. And he directly tells her, chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. This is Narayani. This is the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur, and we'll go to his house very soon in a few days' time. So Narayani is there. And then Gopal Chapala attempted to defame Srivas Pandit by putting impure articles outside his door. So all of these multitude, oh, and this principal pastime is Kola Bangara Danga, this breaking of the Mridanga. Chankazi had the audacity to proclaim that Sankirtan should be forbidden. So we've got all kinds of restrictions going on in the world right now, on the planet. So we can kind of appreciate this coming down from some authoritative figure like the Chankazi. But as a result of that, Mahaprabhu inaugurated his massive and invaded that Kazi's house. Hundreds and thousands and millions practically, all of Navadwip holding flaming torches, roared toward the house of the Chankazi, coming from this place of Srivas Angam. So all these intoxicatingly beautiful pastimes, they erupt out of Srivas Angam, which is right next door to the Yoga Pit. So Srivas Angam ki jai, Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanivyo, Vaishnavevya Namaha.
Margie, who hid in a basket again? I like that bit.
His mother-in-law. Srivas Thakur's mother-in-law.
That's
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And Srivas
How did they find
Thakur
it?
pulled her out by
He
a
showed
hair.
his universal form. He
What's
showed
that?
his universal form to Advaita Acharya too.
Yes,
couldn't-
yes, yes. He showed his universal form to Advaita
Ah.
Acharya right here in Srivas Angam. Srivas Angam, powerful, powerful, powerful place.
Okay,
Very
Margie, you'll have to introduce me now.
Yes,
I
Go
can't
ahead.
introduce myself.
you showed an undone now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
Okay.
Danny
just
Maharaj
realized-
only shows his universal form to a very select audience.
Yeah, it was just Advaita Acharya, and Nityananda ran because he heard it was actually going on, and he ran to witness it. And then he was demanding Advaita Acharya hold all the paraphernalia. So, what is your location you're going to do? Yashoda
I'm
Prabhu?
doing Advaita Bhavan and Gadata Angam. Actually, I'm
Okay,
focusing
so
on
now
Advaita
our
Bhavan.
most esteemed
Yeah.
Yashodanandan Prabhu is going to be telling the glories of Advaita Acharya and Gadadha Bhavan, which is right next door to Srivas Angam. So he's going to speak for only 15 minutes, and then I'll ring the bell loudly. And thank you, Yashoda. Carried away.
Thanks, Margie. I've done an invocation, so I'll just do a very, very short one. Let's just set the time. Okay. Om Gyan Tiramandasya Gyanjana Salakya Chakshur Militamina Tashme Shri Gurve Namaha. I pay my humble obeisances to my Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, and all the assembled devotees. I ask your blessings. So I might not get through the whole of this Leela, but I'm going to go as far as I can. I thought, as I'm speaking about these locations, I'm going to speak about a beautiful rendition in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela chapter 3, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Advaita Acharya's house. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had recently accepted the sannyas order, and he was wanting to go to Vrindavan, but he seemed to be lost. He'd accepted the sannyas order in his 24th year in the month of Magha during the waxing moon, and he was wandering through Radhadesh, but thought he was on his way to Vrindavan, and he was reciting a verse about overcoming the insurmountable ocean of nescience by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So Mahaprabhu was trying to go to Vrindavan. He was in complete ecstasy, but he didn't know where he was going, and he actually didn't even know whether it was night or day. And Lord Nityananda was following him. And as Mahaprabhu walked in ecstasy, people were exclaiming along the way, Hari, Hari. And the cowherd boys were also shouting loudly, Hari, Hari. And Mahaprabhu approached the cowherd boys, and he put his hands on their heads and said, go on chanting like that, encouragingly. And Nityananda Prabhu tells the cowherd boys that if Mahaprabhu asked the way to Vrindavan, show him the way to the Ganges. Nityananda Prabhu was always up to some mischief. And so this happened. So Nityananda Prabhu organizes that Chandrasekhar Acharya go to Advaita Acharya's house. And Nityananda Prabhu says that Advaita Acharya should wait on the Ganges with his boat. And Nityananda Prabhu says he will go to Advaita Acharya's house. So Chandrasekhar Acharya, he goes to Nityananda to bring Mother Sachi and the devotees to Advaita Acharya's house. So Lord Nityananda went to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu asked the way to Vrindavan. And Nityananda Prabhu tricks him, and he refers to the Ganges. He points to the Ganges and said, oh, that's the Yamuna. So in complete ecstasy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this as the truth. So Mahaprabhu bathes in the Ganges, thinking it's the Yamuna. And Advaita Acharya arrives on his boat, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks him, how did he know he was in Vrindavan? And Advaita Acharya answers that wherever he is, wherever Mahaprabhu is, that is Vrindavan. And that he's actually at the bank of the Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nityananda Prabhu has cheated me. But Advaita Acharya defends Nityananda Prabhu, and he says that where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes bath, that's actually where the Ganges and the Yamuna, they're actually flowing together. The west side is the Yamuna, and the east side is the Ganges. So Advaita Acharya says that said that Mahaprabhu had been fasting for 3 whole days, so he invited him to his house, and he said, "I've cooked a palm full of rice and some simple vegetables and nothing luxurious, Mahaprabhu." And Advaita Acharya brings Mahaprabhu to his house, and he washes his feet. And all the preparations, actually a load of preparations, have been prepared by Advaita Acharya's wife. And Advaita Acharya offers everything to Vishnu, and the preparations are in 3 parts. One's on a metal plate for Krishna, and actually there's such a range of tasty, sweet and salty and pungent foodstuffs. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, lists a whole range of wonderful, luxurious foods. And there are 100 pots filled with various vegetables, and earthen pots filled with yogurt and condensed milk. So the food was offered to Krishna, And then, as is customary, there was Bhoga Arti. And Advaita Acharya asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu to attend the Arti. So when they were about to take prasadam, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu invited Mukunda and Haridas Thakur to take prasadam. But being very humble, Mukunda Prabhu excused himself on account of he had other duties to do. And Haridas declined, citing his sinfulness and his lowborn status. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were very pleased with the preparations. Mahaprabhu thought everything was for Krishna, not for him. He thought it would be all distributed to everybody there. And Advaita Acharya said he would serve everything. Mahaprabhu said he would take very little. He's like from sannyasa order. So he said, listen, I'm sannyasi. I take very little foodstuffs. But Advaita Acharya said he knew who he is. He knew why he could take in sannyas. He knew the confidential reasons. He wanted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to drop the pretense. And he said anything, so Mahaprabhu said anything he could not eat. Sorry, Advaita Acharya said anything he couldn't eat, he could leave on the plate. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, well, listen, the sannyasi eats very little. And also he doesn't leave remnants. So Advaita Acharya says to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's non-different to Jagannath. And Jagannath eats 54 times a day. And each of those 54 times, he's eaten hundreds of pots each time. So he tells the Mahaprabhu, he says, eat, don't talk. No more talking, just eat. Meanwhile, always the contrarian, Nityananda Prabhu has the opposite mentality. He's been fasting for 3 days, and he says, so little foodstuffs here? It's not even going to fill half of my belly. So Advaita Acharya told him to give up his greedy mentality, and he jokes with Nityananda Prabhu. So the two lords eat, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he'd eat half of the veggie preparation, half pots, and then abandon it and move on to the next. And then Advaita Acharya would fill up the pot, and then Lord Chaitanya would do the same, eat another half again, and leave half in there. Meanwhile, Lord Nityananda Prabhu took the handful of rice, and he threw it on the floor like he was angry. But when 2 or 4 pieces, I don't know why they said 2 or 4, but they said 2 or 4 pieces, it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When they touched Advaita Acharya begins to dance. And he joked with Nityananda. He has no caste. He's just a madman. And you're making me like a madman. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu then washed their hands and they took rest. So Mahaprabhu then instructed Advaita Acharya to take prasadam with Mukunda and Haridas. And the people of Santipur, they heard Mahaprabhu was at Advaita Acharya's house. So they thronged there to his lotus feet. And the people danced with so much joy, shouting, Hari, Hari. And Advaita Acharya, he led us the Sankirtan party with so much ecstasy. 3 hours of just rapturous dancing. And Mahaprabhu felt more and more ecstasy in separation. And then suddenly Mahaprabhu, he falls to the ground. And Advaita Acharya, he stops dancing. And Mukunda, he could see Mahaprabhu was in such ecstasy. And he understood his feelings. And so he started singing stanzas. And this augmented, like it grew Mahaprabhu's ecstasy even more. And Mahaprabhu started crying. And he stood, and then he fell. And then he trembled, and then his hair stood on end. Mukunda sings more. And he sings like this. He says, my feelings is like this. My feelings like this. My mind burns day and night. I can get no rest. If there was some place I could go to meet Krishna, I would immediately fly there. And Mahaprabhu hears this. And when he hears this, his mind goes to pieces. There's moroseness, disappointment, pleasure, restlessness, pride, humility, all, and it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, literally it says, all began to fight like soldiers in the Lord. And then Mahaprabhu falls and he almost stops breathing. And everyone is anxious. And then Mahaprabhu gets up and makes a thunderous noise. But he was actually fatigued, but he couldn't feel his fatigue. So Nityananda Prabhu stops his dancing, and Advaita Acharya suspends the chanting, and they made Mahaprabhu take rest. And for 10 days continuously, Advaita Acharya holds this feasting and chanting every evening. And in the morning, Chandrasekhar, he brings Sachimata from her house with many devotees, and he seats her on a palanquin. And everybody from Nadia comes, and the crowds increase more and more and more. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he falls before her like a stick. And Mother Sachi cries, and she takes Lord Chaitanya on her lap. And then she sees him without hair, and she becomes agitated. She smears his body with kisses and starts observing him like a mother does closely, but could not see him for the tears in her eyes. Understanding he'd taken sannyasi, she asked him, please don't be cruel. Don't be like your older brother Vishwarup. If you do not come and see me, it will be my death. But Mahaprabhu says, my body is yours. I do not possess anything. I can never repay you the debt that I owe you, and I shall never be indifferent to you. So Mahaprabhu is ready to meet all the devotees, and he embraces everyone one by one tightly, and everyone's dancing and chanting, and everyone came from Navadwip. There are more and more people, and all the villages. And Advaita Acharya is just supplying everything inexhaustibly. And Mother Sachi, she takes charge of all the cooking. And Mahaprabhu dines with the devotees, and in the evening, singing and dancing, and Mahaprabhu is in ecstasy every day, every night, tears and devastation. And Mother Sachi, she's really worried that Mahaprabhu has fallen when he falls, and she petitions Lord Vishnu, asking him that he feels that her son feels no pain when he falls. She's overwhelmed with parental love. She shows bodily symptoms of that love. And others petition Mahaprabhu to visit them. But Sachi says they can meet him anytime, but she cannot. The sannyasi can never return home. So she asks that while Mahaprabhu was at Advaita Acharya's house, she feeds him, and everybody agrees. And Mahaprabhu says his mother's eagerness, Mahaprabhu says his mother's eagerness, he becomes from that a little agitated, and he speaks to everyone, because he would never be indifferent to them or to his mother Sachi. He says that a sannyasi, however, cannot remain at home surrounded by relatives. It's not the thing, it's not proper. So he asked them to make arrangements where he could not leave them, while at the same time not being blamed for remaining with relatives, almost like contradictory instruction. So they approach Sachi, and she says, if Mahaprabhu goes to Jagannath Puri, he'll not leave us. And he'll not be blamed as a sannyasi. He can be aloof from us at the same time, and we can visit him and that he can visit us. You see, in Navadwip and Jagannath, they're intimately connected. And Sachi says, I care not for my own happiness, only his happiness, which is my happiness. Anya blasta sunyam gyan kamadi navritam anukalenia Krishna shilam bhakti utama. All the devotees agree. And all the devotees assure her this will happen. And they tell Mahaprabhu, and he was pleased. And Mahaprabhu offers respects and spoke thus. He said, go home now and chant congregationally, worship Krishna, chant his names, discuss his pastimes. And he asked permission from the devotees to go to Puri. And he assured them he'll come back, bid farewell. So Mahaprabhu sets out for Jagannath, and Haridas starts crying. He cannot go to Jagannath due to being so low born. So Mahaprabhu asks him to check his humility, for it's agitating his mind, and he assures him he'd petition Lord Jagannath and he'd take him there. So Mahaprabhu then asks Advaita Acharya if he could stay for another 2 or 4 days. So humble, the Lord asking the Lord if he could stay a little longer. And during the day, they all discuss Krishna's pastimes, and during night, they chant. Mother Sachi was cooking all day. Imagine how delicious that would be. And Mahaprabhu had assured them, sometimes you come to Jagannath, sometimes I'll come to you. And Mahaprabhu then circumambulated his mother, and everyone's crying. But Mahaprabhu's unaffected, and he leaves. And Advaita Acharya, he follows. And Mahaprabhu petitions him. He says, you must pacify Mother Sachi and the devotees. Who else is going to pacify them? And he stops Advaita Acharya, following him, and he sets out for Jagannath Puri. And if one hears this pastime of the activities at the house of Advaita Acharya, then he or she will certainly very soon attain the riches of the love of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Yashodanandan Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you so much for that. That was totally delicious.
It's an awesome pastime, huh?
Absolutely. You told it so nicely. Thank you so much.
I apologize, I was 18 seconds over.
No, it's so wonderful to hear the pastime according to the letter of the Shastra, when you don't deviate with any sort of speculative embellishments. When you say, because we all know the pastime, so when you're saying it exactly as the scripture reveals it, it's so much more tasty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yashoda. It was wonderful.
It didn't need any embellishing because it's unbelievable. It's beautiful.
Yes. No, you told it so well. Thank you.
So next, we're back to Shripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, and he is going to be sharing with us about Chaitanya Mat. Maharaji, Dandavat Pranams.
Yananjana Shlakaya Chakshuran Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Ma Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutane Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samini Dinamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Dinamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutane Shri Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Arati Dinamane Vanchakapatare Vyashcha Kripasanabhyavata Putitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Offering obeisance again unto my beloved Diksha Guru Nichili Pravishti Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, my beloved Shiksha and Sannyas Guru Rupanugavada Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, my beloved Shiksha Guru Shishi Bhakti Vigyam Bharati Maharaj, all our Rupanugavada Varga. Offer obeisances to all devotees, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, headed by our senior Vaishnavas and especially our Tridandigan. Hare Krishna. One thing I'd like to mention, going up that road from the Ghat up past ISKCON to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's to Yogapeeth and then Shiva Sangat. So on the left-hand side, there is the Samadhi Mandir, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. Very, very dear friend of our Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And he gave solace to many of Srila Gurudev's disciples and followers after Srila Gurudev passed away from this world. And then on the right-hand side also there's Nanda Bhavan, Ishujan, where Nityananda Prabhu hid from Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya easily found him. Advaita Acharya hid from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, if he's the Supreme Lord, he can come and find me. And Lord Chaitanya didn't even bother to go find him. He said, he's in Nanda Bhavan, you go bring him. And then later on, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself hid from Advaita Acharya in Nanda Bhavan also. So I don't know what the qualification, let's say, adhikar, or the story behind all that is. But these are very, very beautiful pastimes. So it's there that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda met in their pastimes here. They met for the first time. There's gorgeous, gorgeous Gaudiyatite deities there, Nanda Bhavan. So Sri Chaitanya Mat, this is Sri Saraswati Prabhupada's first mat. Saraswati Prabhupada, he did some research. He went to the Sri Sampradaya, and he observed how they arranged their accommodation, arranged their worship, arranged their living and training and everything like that. And he took many features from what they did, because in our line, come from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the time we come down to Thakur Bhakti Vinod revived, I mean, you could almost say that he picked up Krishna. Of course, there were great devotees like Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj and others, pure devotees. But in general, the PR of Vaishnavas was in the gutter. And Thakur Bhakti Vinod established the supreme, sublime, transcendental glories of Vaishnava Dharma, established many Namahat programs. But by the time Saraswati Prabhupada was ready to begin preaching, practically there was nothing there, nothing systematic at all. So he actually established months where devotees could live. There would be a regular program, morning and evening program, a strong program of seva. And really to this day, and that was established in Sri Chaitanya Math in the first place. So to this day, this program survives. Like my Guru Maharaj, once his temples were up to speed, this is the basic model that he established. Of course, he simplified things to some extent, but that's the basic model that he established. And when we came in 1996 to, first of all, for Kartik personally, I mean, there were other fortunate souls like Abhinav Maharaj, for example, and others. They had already taken shelter of Srila Gurudev. But when I personally came in 1996, it wasn't like a totally different world. In one sense, it was a totally different world, because I felt, oh, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's family. I'm coming into Lord Chaitanya's family. And I saw how Srila Gurudev and his disciples, immediate, like now, Pujpat Ban Maharaj, Pujpat Premananda Prabhuji, Madhav Maharaj, also Tirtha Maharaj at that time. They were looking after the devotees, serving prasad even, and kind of hauling us into Gaudiya Vaishnavism. I told Srila Gurudev, and he slapped me on the shoulder. Yes, we will have ISKCON as it is. Swamiji is with us, he's not with them. So that program, and again, with some details, when I was living in a temple in Chandigarh, for example, Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, it's the same basic program with some details. One of our devotees going, oh, it's a different Mangalarti, oh, it's all different. But it wasn't all different. So this is the program that Srila Saraswati Prabhupada established in Chaitanya Math. And he assembled this constellation of stellar personalities. Amazing. One of the first, of course, was our Param Pujabhai Srila Bhakti Pragang Keshav Goswami Maharaj. And we were up at Sri Chaitanya Math just recently. And there's the jackfruit tree. Unfortunately, obviously it passed away, where Vinod Brahmachari was sitting and musing, and everyone was coming up and offering obeisances and getting directions from him. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Dayat Madhav Goswami Maharaj. So many extraordinary personalities, totally extraordinary. Extraordinary because they're transcendental. They weren't just characters from a material point of view, but they were transcendental. So, stunning. Like, for example, Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, when he first came to the Math, although he was an educated person, he was astounded because he saw devotees like talking in Sanskrit. So he left and he went back home. He said, I have to go to university and study. And Srila Bhakti Pragang Keshav Goswami Maharaj personally went and told him, don't worry about studying anything. You have what you need now to begin your service. And he came back. So he was another Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, another extraordinary personality. Srila Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Goswami Maharaj. Later, of course, there were misadventures when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Sri Saraswati Prabhupada left. There were some difficulties. Even there was a plot to have many of the devotees put in prison for an alleged murder of a Muslim. It turned out he'd fallen out of a tree. So that was when Sajjan Brahmachari, later Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Maharaj, he manifested his serving pastimes by, he received his Diksha mantras through the prison bars, and he was feeding the devotees, and then he went to get a lawyer. So actually, Thakur Bhakti Vinod purchased this land for Saraswati Prabhupada because Saraswati Prabhupada tried to work in set up a pharmacy, and that didn't work out. Then he was tutor for the son of a king who was friendly with Thakur Bhakti Vinod. But the son of the king, the prince, announced that he wanted to take sannyas, and the queen said, if he becomes renounced, I'll take poison. So the king released, let's say, Srila Saraswati Prabhupada on a pension, full pension, but he accepted for another 3 years. So after that, Thakur Bhakti Vinod purchased this land, and he made some dwelling place there. And then Saraswati Prabhupada began living there. There was a difficulty with the tenants. They weren't paying up, Muslims mostly, they weren't paying up. And our powerful then Vinod Brahmachari, later Bhakti Goswami, Bhakti Pragan Keshu Goswami, very, very strong. He was coming from a Zamindar family himself, so he didn't take any nonsense from them. He just tied a couple of them to trees, beat them up a bit, and then everybody very eagerly paid their rent. So things worked out very nicely. So it was from there that Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Pragan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he brought Srila Gokishodas Babaji Maharaj's samadhi across the river when the Ganga was threatening it. It was from there that again Srila Bhakti Pragan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Vinod Brahmachari, when the Muslims had made one of the sacred places into a graveyard. So at night, he, with other devotees, they dug up all the bones, threw them into the Ganga, and planted old trees there. So when the Muslims complained, there was nothing on the old maps about a graveyard there, and it was obvious that the garden had been there for a long time. So they couldn't make any legal headway at all. So all these, it's inconceivable actually, the dynamic, I mean, like an ongoing cyclone of transcendental energy of this place, from which the Krishna consciousness movement, as we know it today, has emanated. It's like the eye of the storm. But the eye of the storm is in the center of the storm and it's very calm. But this is the opposite. It's emanating all this transcendental energy throughout time and space. Hare Krishna.
Raj, I never heard the tying up to the trees and beating story. That was very politically correct. I love that.
Thought you'd like that.
Yeah, that was good. Very good. Thank you, Maharaji. Thank you for your whole contribution today. Very relishable. So we're now going to hear from Sripad Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj on Gaur Kishodas Babaji's Samadhi. Haribol Maharji. I think the name. Oh, there he is. Maharaj, just unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay?
great to see you. Yeah, fantastic.
It was kind of going in and out. Was that me? Was that coming from my phone, or was that for
I
it.
think
but-
your phone's a little unstable, but I think we'll just about get through it.
Okay. Yeah, this is the best I can do. I came outside. I'm actually
No, it's
in
good. We feel like we're
Gopanatha
there.
by Srila Gurudeva's room.
Yeah, we feel like we're there. We can hear all the honking and
Okay,
stonking.
Exactly. Has anybody spoken on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's Samadhi? I just want to know what's gone on before me.
Before you today, we've had Navadwip, Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat, Yogapit, Srivasangam, Advaita Bhavan, Gadata Angam, and Chaitanya Mat. And then after you is Chankazi Samadhi.
Okay. Namo Gora Kishoraya, Sakshat Vairagya Mutaye, Vipalambara Sambodhe, Padam Bhuja, Te Namaha. So now we come to the Samadhi Monday of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So I just said his pranam mantra, Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Mutaye. That Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is Sakshat Vairagya Mutaye. He's the embodiment of Vairagya, the embodiment of renunciation. Srila Gurudev would explain that Vairagya can be broken down into the two words Vishesh Rag. Vishesh means special, and Rag means attachment. So the renunciation of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, this was coming from his very special Rag, his praying. In Ujjvala Nilamani, Srila Rupa Goswami, he explains that Rag, it has the symptom that when there's a situation where one should be feeling extreme suffering, but due to the intense pleasure that one is getting from their service, rather one is feeling supreme pain, supreme happiness. So, though it appeared that Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was engaged in activities that would induce so much pain, but due to his ecstatic absorption, he was actually experiencing the highest happiness. In the second line of his pranam mantra, it stated, Vipralamba Rasambode Padam Bhujaya Te Namaha. That what was the nature of his praying? To explain that praying, that there are two embankments. One is meeting, Sambhog, and another is Vipralamba, Viraha. That here says Vipralamba Rasambode. That he wasn't just experiencing Vipralamba, but Ras Ambode means that he was completely submerged in the ocean of Vipralamba Ras, the ocean of separation. That in Viraha, though externally it appears to be suffering, but internally, or I should say externally, there appears to be separation. But internally, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was having the most intense, ecstatic meeting with Shri Radha and Krishna in every pore of his body. This is Vipralamba. Externally, there's separation, but internally, there's meeting. And when Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji would perform his bhajan, he was so absorbed in Prem Ras, here it says Rasambode, that he would observe Ekadashi, and rather than breaking on one day, he would observe it for like 2-3 days, and he was just so completely absorbed. He was oblivious to external surroundings. He was oblivious to his body. He was oblivious to his identity as Gaur Kishore Das Babaji when he was absorbed in this Vipralamba Ras. So it's explained that he lived in Vrindavan for 30 years. And he traveled and he was staying in different places, sometimes especially in Suryakund, sometimes in Radhakund, sometimes Manasi Ganga. But he was feeling some dissatisfaction. So Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj advised him that you should go to Navadwip. That Navadwip, that this is the land of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. That there Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. That in Navadvip, where in Vrindavan one will have to undergo the reactions for offenses, but in Navadvip, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they're so merciful that if one calls out their names, Hey Nitai, Hey Gorango, then they quickly run to give mercy to that person as long as they're free from kapatya, as long as they're not kapati. That they're patit pavan, savior of the most fallen, but not kapati pavan. So he came to Navadvip and he was absorbed in this mood of separation. He would sing his song, Kotai go prema mai radhe radhe, calling for Radharani in separation. He had very few possessions. His neck beads, his japamala, his cloth, which he would get discarded cloth from the bodies of dead persons, and then he had two books, Prem, Bhakti, Chandrika, and Pratana. He said that if you want Krishna Prem, that it can be bought for something like 2 annas, very, very little amount was the cost of those books. That just by these books, then Krishna Prem will come. So these were his possessions. And he came to Navadvip. Hey Radhe, Brajade, Vike, Chalalite, Hey Nanda Shunu Puta. That, oh Radhe, oh, where are you? Where are you? Crying, crying, crying. He was crying for Radharani, but he was having that very sweet darshan in his heart. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, he met him in 1898. And he became very attracted to him. His father, Srila Bhakti Thakur, and his Shiksha Guru specifically, had told him that this is the person you should take initiation from. So he went to him a few times. And Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, oh, I have to ask Lord Nityananda. Oh, you are so aristocratic. And in this way, he was putting him off. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said to Gaurkishore Das Babaji, he said that, oh, you're cheating me. That you're a servant of that autocratic cheat, Krishna. And now you're cheating me in the same way. That if you do not, I offer myself to you. And if you do not accept, then I will take my life. And he was so resolute. Just like these two personalities were very, very strong personalities. Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was such a strong personality. No nonsense. And similarly, so was Bhima Prasad, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. His father and Guru, Shiksha Guru Bhakti Thakur, seen the situation. Then he went to Gaurkishore Das Babaji and he pled on behalf of Bhima Prasad that please, you accept him because otherwise he may take his life. So under these circumstances, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he accepted Shri Bhima Prasad and gave him the name Sri Varsha Bhanavi Devi Daita Das, one who's very dear at the lotus feet of the daughter of King Vrishabhanu Maharaj, Srimati Radhika. Sri Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Prabhupada said that when I received Diksha from my guru, then the spiritual world opened to me. He said that if I thought that he did bhajan for 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, and there was 1 second that he was not absorbed in crying for Radha and Krishna, I would not have taken initiation from him. That he is completely 100% not absorbed, but dunked, completely submerged, drowning in the ocean of love of Radha and Krishna, specifically Vipralambaras. So, how much time have I got?
You have 4 minutes, Maharaj.
4 minutes. Okay. So very quickly, he was so strong, as I mentioned before. He would point out people who were kapati, who were duplicitous. So if I was there, he would have a field day with me. And even though at one point he could not see materially, but things that were happening miles away, he would say, oh, that so-called Babaji, he is having an affair with that widow. And he would point all these things out. So he went and he locked himself in the toilet. And there he was doing his chanting. And he would not open the door. The officials, they came and said, Babaji Maharaj, please, we'll build your bhajan kutir. He said, open the door, please. Said, oh, I am sick. I cannot open. I cannot open. But then one 17-year-old boy with his 2 aunties, his name was Vinod Brahmachari. He had just come. This was right before Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj left the world in 1905. And just after Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada had finished his vow to chant 1 billion names. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada finished his vow in 1914. And Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj left in 1915. Vinod Bihari, he came there just before and he knocked on the door. Babaji Maharaj, oh, I am sick, I cannot open, who is it? And then he said, oh, we've come under the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. And then when he heard that he had come being sent by Prabhupada, immediately he opened the door and he let them in. There were the 2 aunties, and I believe there was Nemi Maharaj was there with him. He was not Nemi Maharaj by that time. And then and Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, seeing the purity, sincerity, dedication of Vinod Bihari, he blessed him. He said that, I bless you that in your life, whatever problems, whatever obstacles, whatever hindrances that come, that you will surpass all of these. When Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj would remember this, he would cry. He would cry. Because definitely, by the blessings of Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, then he was able to completely go across all of these problems. My time is just about up. I have 1 minute.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So in this regard, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he said, talking about overcoming obstacles. And really, I wanted to talk on the topic of renunciation, but I'll save that for tomorrow when I speak on Mahaprabhu Sannyas. But here, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Maharaj said, only profound conviction in devotion to Bhagavan can protect the aspiring servant of God in his life's journey. Only profound conviction. So Sri Bhagavan presents such situations. It's a letter he writes to somebody in order to test and further the depth of the devotee's conviction. Again, he's repeating, we have to have this strong conviction. No matter how difficult the questions are on a test, the student who has studied perfectly will never fail. So he says, I have faith that you will surely be able to progress due to this test that God has orchestrated. Adversity is the main foundation of success. Adversity is the main foundation of success. A weak-hearted person sees difficulty as unfortunate and tries to prevent it or be liberated from it. But a strong person, confronted with adversity, sees it as a cause of auspiciousness and embraces it. So knowing adversity to be your good fortune, embrace it firmly and you will be victorious. So Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav, he carried this his whole life with the blessings of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. One very last thing. Do I have time for last thing or should I Banchakalpa to Rubischa?
No, dude, last thing, under 1 minute, Maharaj.
Okay, so we see in Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj his deep renunciation, which is secondary to his oceanic devotion, his oceanic praying. So he is not forcing renunciation, but it's coming automatically. They said that his renunciation, just like Raghunath Das Goswami, was so strict that there were like lines on a stone. So we can see from him and from Raghunath Das Goswami that in their life's journey, that they did have times where they had to use their intellect and willfully perform renunciation. We don't have so much history of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Of course, we know that he ate mud and he became blind. But in terms of using his intellect and forcing himself to stay away from objects of the senses, we see in Raghunath Das Goswami how in Jagannath Mandir he was taking prasadam from people coming by. Then he would take from the booth, prasadam booth. Then after that, he would take from the cows. My time is up. And gradually, his renunciation intensified and intensified to the point where he was taking, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj said he was just taking some water, not even just some charge. So for us, renunciation is very important in our level. Myself speaking as a neophyte, that it is not something which is coming natural. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has stated that renunciation, this is coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Antalila, chapter 6, verse 220. I won't speak the Bengali because of time. He says, renunciation is the basic principle sustaining the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees. It's the basic principle. Seeing the renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is extremely satisfied. So we can learn from these Mahabhagavats that though it is not coming to us naturally, but step by step, we should look to see how we can take on the tests that come, the opportunities to renounce, the different difficulties, how we can embrace them according to our adhikar, according to our level. And that this is very pleasing to Gurudev. This is very pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As long as our renunciation and our embracing of different tests are done for their pleasure. And by their pleasure, then bhakti comes. And as bhakti comes, then automatically renunciation becomes a secondary affair. It happens automatically. Vanchakalpa Turubhischa, Kripasan Vevicha, Patitanam Pavnevyo, Vaishnavevyo Namo Namah. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. So we pray to him that we can be able to follow in some semblance of a semblance of a semblance of a semblance of a semblance thousands and thousands of times in his footsteps.
But Maharaj, renunciation makes space for absorption, right?
Yes, exactly. Because renunciation, then we're getting rid of baggage. We're getting rid of unnecessary
It's like clearing
baggage.
the room. You can't bring in new furniture unless you get rid of the old furniture.
Exactly, exactly. That's
Thank
really
you,
good.
Margie. Beautiful.
Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you so much. Okay, our last speaker, but not least, is Shriman Madhuvrat Prabhu. who'll be speaking on Chankazi's Samadhi. Hari Bol, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats Maharaj, Dandavats to all.
Jai Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavats.
I don't think there are any crazy horns going on where you are, Madhuraj, are there?
No, you can see Ramananda Prabhu and myself have both got woolly hats and chaddars on. So we're firmly in the UK. We're matching. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So taking shelter of lotus feet of Sri Srila Gurudev and Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then I'll offer something as requested by Zoom Saver team. Very good to see you, Shoda Prabhu. Yesterday I got a notification from Google to say, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I got a notification from Google to say that 9 years ago we were doing the mini parikrama together.
Oh, wow! How did you get another? How did that happen?
They just come through like photographs. So I've got a really nice photograph of you sitting in meditation at the place of Lakshmi Priya.
You mean me pretending to be in meditation? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're asleep. I'm not sure.
Yeah, can you send it to me? That sounds great.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But 9 years ago, so it's a long time.
That was a great parikram. I loved it.
Yes, it was really good. I have to do that again.
Mm.
Okay, so by mercy of Guru and Gauranga, so this place is the Samadhi of the Kazi, the Chand Kazi, and the place where he received the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Nimai Pandit. So this place is also, as Tridani Maharaj was saying, this place is also a different island because it's just on the border of Antardvip, just across the border into Simantadvip. So Simantadvip, if you look on the map, is a very large area. But so on this day, we touch on Simantadvip, and I don't think we go to Simantadvip again after this. And Simantadvip represents, within the 9 limbs of Bhakti, Simantadvip represents Shravanam, so hearing. I'm not going to go too much into that because I actually don't know why it represents that. But anyway, in this place, why is it called Simantadvip? Because in this place, Parvati Devi, she did austerity. She had heard the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Mahadev, Lord Shiva himself, and a great greed developed in her heart to experience the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. So she did austerities in this place for many, many years. And then Mahaprabhu manifested himself before her, and she requested, she wanted to be in Mahaprabhu's pastimes when he performed his Leela. So then Mahaprabhu said, well, you will be there as Yogamaya, as Purnamasi, and as Prodamaya. So when we go tomorrow, we go to this Prodamaya temple, and also Mahadev is there. So I'm thinking this is that place where she is. But obviously Prodamaya, she's like Yogamaya within Vrindavan, and she facilitates all of the pastimes of the Lord. So after Mahaprabhu had given her this benediction, she took Mahaprabhu's foot dust and she put it into the, they have the parting in their hair where they put the red sindhu. So this is called the Simanta. So therefore this island is called Simantadvip. It's a very beautiful place. We stayed there actually a few years ago when we went to the Japa retreat. We stayed in a devotee building which was in Simantadvip, and it's very beautiful, very peaceful and sattvic place. So in this place, the Chand Kazi's Samadhi, this place was where Mahaprabhu came with his Sankirtan party, and he chastised and gave mercy to the Muslim ruler, the Qazi. So this whole pastime, by the time we get here on this parikrama, by the way, everybody's really tired, and it's quite a long walk from Chaitanya Mat to this place. And by this time of the day, it's very hot. So everybody's a bit tired and a bit dusty and a bit kind of, and you realize you're going further and further away. And, one may be forgiven for thinking, well, why are we going to a Muslim samadhi within the Parikrama? But actually, this is it's a very significant place, not least because of the pastime that took place preceding the giving of mercy to the Qazi. Because I was reading yesterday, and thank you for asking me to speak on this, because it caused me to go back and read from the Chaitanya Bhagavat about this Sankirtan pastime, because this is the inauguration, really, of Mahaprabhu's Naga Sankirtan movement. So Naga Sankirtan, Naga means town, or so that Sankirtan which goes out and about and around the town, that is called Naga Sankirtan. So it's at the inauguration, really, of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Because prior to this, then, as we heard from Tridani Maharaj speaking about Shrivasangan, then all of the kirtan had been private. So the kirtan was taking place within Shrivasangan, and the qualification to enter into that place was very, very high. Actually, I've heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Prem, actually, Krishna Prem. So many people tried to get in there. Tridani Maharaj spoke about the Brahmin who only drank milk, who was allowed to come in by Srivas Thakur, but then Mahaprabhu was not feeling ecstasy, and he found this person and kicked him out. Ultimately, he allowed him back in and gave mercy to him. But the entry qualification for those kirtans was very high. So the residents of Navadwip, knowing that Nimai was now a very exalted Vaishnava and who he was, they all wanted to see the dancing of Nimai, but they could understand that he was keeping his Sankirtan pastimes private because of there were many atheists and demons who were criticizing at that time. People were saying things like, oh, they are only chanting because they're so hungry. So they're in there and their stomachs are rumbling and they're going, Hari, Hari, give me some, rice or whatever. So there's many criticisms against the devotees. So that therefore, Nimai was keeping these private, these kirtans private. So it's explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that the Navadvip Basis approached Nimai and expressed their desire to see his dancing and him absorbed in kirtan. So that time then Nimai, he instructed them, he said, oh, you should all go back to your homes and villages and you should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and Hari Haraya Nama Krishna, Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govinda Ram, Sri Madhusudan, like this. He said you should assemble in your family groups with your wife, your children, your grandparents, aunties, uncles in your villages, and you should sit together and you should chant Hare Krishna congregationally, like this Nam Hata. So then the residents of Navadvip, they went back to their place. They started to do this, and also obviously they were spilling out into the streets and the town squares and the surrounding areas, performing kirtan. But the Qazi, who was the ruler he was like a magistrate of Navadvip at that time, under the auspices of, I think, Hussein Shah, who was the governor of the whole of Bengal. He was like a spiritual advisor, so I heard, to Hussein Shah. So this Qazi, he heard about the Hindus doing their very loud chanting on the street and bringing their worship and rituals out, and he became very annoyed. And so he sent his men to disrupt these kirtans, basically. And so they went village to village, stopping the kirtans, and even to the point where they went to that place that's near Srivasangan, where they broke the Mridanga. I forget the Bengali name for that place, Mridanga Banga Danda, or something like that. Is it? Ramananda Prabhu would know. So they broke a Mridanga at that place. So then what happened, all the residents of Navadvip, they came to Nimai and said, we're going to have to go somewhere else and do this. We're going to have to move out of Navadvip. So then Nimai became very angry, and he said, I will solve this problem. I will organize a great Sankirtan procession to the home of the Qazi. So then Nimai, he ordered Nityananda Prabhu, he said, go to the homes of all the Vaishnavas and invite them on this great grand procession, and they should all bring flaming torches. So it's explained in Chaitanya Bhagavat that fathers and sons and grandfathers, they had great barrels of oil. And at this time, it says in Chaitanya Bhagavat that there were hundreds of millions of residents of Navadwip. It's inconceivable. We cannot imagine, because now we see as like a relatively small place compared to other cities. But there were millions of people there. And so millions of people, they came on this incredible Naga Sankirtan. And so what I wanted to do is, I'm probably going to go a bit over, but I can, right? Because I'm the last person. I just wanted to read a little bit from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, because I'm not eloquent enough to describe it as this Chaitanya Bhagavat is. So I'm going to read a little bit about this Naga Sankirtan, because it's astonishing, really. Okay, so it says, the Sankirtan pastimes of the Lord are unique. Never was such a pastime ever revealed before in any other incarnation. So the Kirtan has begun at this point. He's saying, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, as the Kirtan picked up gusto, the Lord's joy also increased. The devotees were carried in waves of sublime joy. The Lord and husband of the goddess of fortune was dancing on Navadwip streets, and anyone who saw him became free from all sorrow. Soon it was dusk, but the devotees were totally engrossed in the Kirtan, oblivious to the material realm. Millions of men, women, and children lined the street, standing in doorways, seeing the moving mass of men in their tumultuous singing of the Lord's holy name. It echoed and filled the cosmos. And above all this tumult, rang out loud and clear the Lord's own thunderous voice. The devotees replied with equal gusto, chanting Lord Hari's name. Then, as if by previous arrangement, all the torches were lit at the same time like magic. Millions of flaming torches lit up the darkened sky, matched by millions of hearts kindled by the magic of sublime bliss. Beautiful, huh? Words fail to describe the marvelous sight. One could easily be confused whether it was a full moon night or broad daylight, or had Krishna himself descended in the form of his own Brahma Jyoti. The Lord again called out the name of Lord Hari, and the devotees became attentive, and they surrounded the Lord with kirtan. So there's a very beautiful scene. All of the devotees dressed beautifully with flower garlands and covered in sandalwood paste and vermilion powder, and all of the homes on the Sankirtan have decorated their front doors with banana trees and garlands, and they'd thrown puffed rice and coins and so many things into the road. It's an extremely auspicious occasion, and everybody was lost in ecstasy and forgot completely the material world. And I was thinking when I was reading this, actually this Navadwip Parikrama, it's so sort of tangible for us, because when we go, these are the same thing, this is the same activity that we perform. We go out and we perform these huge Naga Sankirtans. So it's extremely tangible, and it's the Leela is very similar or the same. And similarly, I mean, I've had, experiences where you have completely forgotten all your material miseries and you're just dancing in the streets of Navadwip. So it's a very beautiful experience, like that we are when we are there, completely involved in that Leela ourselves. So I'll just read one more paragraph here. The ocean of people now surged forward in slow fluid motion, like the Ganga's current that flowed beside them. They were chanting down the side of the Ganga. They all danced and chanted, surrounding the dancing golden form of the Lord. Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Pandit, and other senior associates of the Lord led huge groups of dancing and chanting devotees, everyone exulting in the bliss of the Lord's presence. Those who could not sing were now singing with sweet melodious voices. The Lord was surrounded by the best singers, Murari, Mukundadatta, Ramai, Govinda, Vakeshwar, Vasudeva, and others, and Lord Nityananda and Gadadhar Pandit danced on each side of the Lord, submerged in divine bliss. So yes, it's a beautiful and magnificent sight of the Sankirtan. And one thing is that the devotees in the Kirtan, many of them didn't even know where they were going. They didn't know that they were going towards the house of the Qazi and what the pastime was. They were just like swept up in this great wave of millions of persons doing Kirtan. And they finally saw their heart's desire, which was Nimai and his incredible dancing and manifesting all of his different ecstatic symptoms, such as perspiration, tears, shivering, falling to the ground, getting back up. So this incredible praying-filled dancing of the Golden Lord, this is what they wanted to see. So seeing
which chapter is that, Prabhu?
It's Madhya, it's Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya 13. I'll put a link in the description because it's an online, there's an online version of it. Yeah. And it's written into a story form from the verses, the one that I've found, but there is another one which has all the verses as well, which is really nice, which I had, but I lost. So anyway, seeing this procession, there were some atheists and they were thinking, well, when the Qazi sees this, there's going to be big trouble and he'll come out with his men and everyone will run away. Everybody will scatter to the four winds. And that's the last we'll hear about this. But this didn't happen. The Qazi heard the Kirtan coming, much like we see when Jagai and Madai could hear the Kirtan from inside their place. And they were wondering, what is that? What is that sound? So in the same way, the Qazi thought, what are those Hindus doing? Are they having some kind of wedding procession? But I've told them that they cannot do their rituals on the street. But thinking them, so many of them, he sent a spy to have a look. And the spy saw millions and millions of devotees chanting. And some were even chanting, kill the Qazi. So this was an effect of their Krishna Prem. That they wanted to actually destroy the Qazi, because ultimately, who is the Qazi in Krishna Leela? He is Kamsa, right? So when Krishna went from Vrindavan to Mathura to kill Kamsa, in this Leela, he is going to the house of the Qazi, who's like the same personality from Krishna Leela. So some of the men were chanting, kill the Qazi, and they ransacked. They arrived at the Qazi's house, and it's explained in Chaitanya Bhagavat that they ransacked his house. They destroyed his garden. They trampled his flower beds. They ripped up plants. But all the time they were performing all of this activity, they were chanting. So smashing up the house, wrecking the garden, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we cannot imagine such a scene, really.
Nothing's changed then.
Exactly, to remind you of your Naga Sankirtan pastimes in London. So yeah, they rampaged through his garden, and the Lord manifested great fury and was demanding, bring me the Qazi, bring me the Qazi. And at this point the Lord wanted to kill him, just like in the Jagai and Madai pastime. The Lord wanted to kill Madai because he had broken the pot on Nityananda Prabhu's head. So at this point, the devotees pacified the Lord and said, remember, in this incarnation, you are not coming to kill the demons, you're coming to give them mercy and liberate them. So therefore, somehow, Nimai, he enticed, and this is where it slightly changes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, because in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it says that Mahaprabhu was then satisfied and then left with his Sankirtan party. But then in other scriptures, and in Srila Gurudev's Navadwip Dham Parikrama book, he explains that the Qazi was enticed out of his house, and Nimai asked him, he said, "You are actually like my maternal uncle, because I think Sachi Ma's family were from that area." So somehow he's like, you know, I don't think literally an uncle.
Please start wrapping up, Prabhu.
Oh, sorry. So Chand Kazi said, "I'm very fearful of you, so I've not come out, because after my men broke the Mridanga, then I came back, I slept, and I dreamt that Lord Nrsingadev was on my chest, and he was scratching at my chest, and he was saying that you should never disrupt the Sankirtan pastimes." So then Nimai said, "Well, today I'm letting you go, but you should never obstruct the Sankirtan movement again." So in this way, the Chand Kazi, he received the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and then he became like a devotee of Mahaprabhu, and so did his entire dynasty. And still to this day, his dynasty there are still there within that area. So there's a beautiful tree there, and underneath that there is the Chand Kazi's Samadhi. So it's a very wonderful pastime. And just briefly, just near to this place, there is also the what is called Sridhar Angan. So that you know Sridhar, the Kolaveta Sridhar, the banana seller, who had many prem-filled quarrels with Mahaprabhu. His place is just near there. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, then the whole Sankirtan party, after this Chand Kazi Samadhi, they go to the place of Sridhar and give mercy to Sridhar, and Nimai drinks directly from the old iron cup of Sridhar, the banana seller, and then Nimai, he rests there. So yes, thank you for asking me to speak, and I was trying to ram in as much as possible there.
Yeah, that was very cheeky, Prabhu. Yeah.
But I figured I am last.
I appreciate it. It was good. Just quickly, if anyone's got a booklet, many years ago I came across a booklet which I just don't have anymore, which is the actual conversation between the Qazi and Mahaprabhu.
Yes, I remember that, and I couldn't find it, and I couldn't.
Anyone knows how to get that?
What it was?
Sham's got
Chaitanya
his.
Charitamrita, it's there. Chaitanya Charitamrita has that conversation.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Anyway, okay, folks. Thanks, Madharat. That was really.
Thank you.
It's amazing how these Leela, you hear them again and again, but they're always ever fresh, because they're so full of spiritual emotion. So, so today we've probably been on quite a trip. We've been to Navadwip, Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, Yogapit, Shiva Sangam, Advaita Bhavan and Gadata Angam, Chaitanya Mat, the Samadhi of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and within Samantadwip, the Chand Kazi Samadhi. Tomorrow we'll be going, it's Ekadashi, and we're going to Devananda Gaudiya Mat, Prabhupada Maya, Jagannath Das Babaji, and we're going to be going to Rudradwip, and within Rudradwip we'll be going to Nidoy Ghat and hearing from Tridandi Maharaj, Brajanath, Madhurath again, Prakashat Mahaprabhu, and Ashram Maharaj. And do remember that on March the 7th, for those of you east of North America, that's Gorpanim. For those of you who are in North America and I think South America, you're celebrating the day before, which does confuse some people. I do get it, like it's a bit strange to celebrate before Mahaprabhu appears in India, but nevertheless, I'm sure we can reconcile these things. Celebrate both days, you know, that's probably the best solution. So on March the 7th, we're going to be having a mega program, which will start at 6:45 UK time in the morning, and will end at 1 o'clock in the morning the next day. So that's how many hours? That's quite a lot of hours, isn't it? That's 5 and 12, 17, 18. That's about 18 hours program, and we've got 28 speakers. So you will be totally Harikatad by the end of that day and imbued with the potency of Mahaprabhu. So we now move over to Bolivia, where we'll be hearing from Shriman Nityananda Prabhu and Shrimati Taruni Didi, who'll outro us for some beautiful kirtan. Haribol, Dandavat Pranams.
The question or move on?
We'll move on.
Okay.
Sorry, needed to turn my sound off. Video on.
Dandavat Didi, welcome.
Hare Krishna. So we're going to sing Kali Kukura by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's on page 157 of the small pink songbook, 47 in the old orange one, and I was just actually going to post the file. So for anybody who wants the words, you can download them from the chat. Okay?
It's
So we'll
10 minutes
start
or
with
less,
the
right, Lily?
English. So first of all, I'd say Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees.
Taruni,
And,
less than 10 minutes, right?
Forgive us, we're still moving into the house and building the altar, as you can see. So please forgive
Taruni,
that.
Haribol.
Okay.
Haribol.
If you wish to vanquish the dog-like personality of Kali, then sing the name of Sri Sachinandan, the savior of the age of Kali, who nullifies all fear of Kali. Gora is the exhilaration of Gadadha Pandit. He is the treasure of the life of Nityananda Prabhu and the worshipful object of Advaita Acharya. He is known as Nimai Vishwambar, the lord of Srivas Pandit, and he who steals the hearts of the devotees. He is the moon of Nadia, the lord of Mayapur, and the divine propagator of the holy name. For Grihastas, he is the instructor, and for renunciants, he is their hero. He is Madhava in the bath of Sri Radha. He is the purifier of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the savior king of Prataparudra, the savior of King Prataparudra, the nurturer of Ramananda Roy, and a great hero. He enhances the bliss of Srila Rupa Goswami, and he is the maintainer of Srila Sanatana Goswami. He is the delight of Srila Haridas Thakur, and he is very grave. He is immersed in Braj Ras. He is the destroyer of wicked materialistic philosophies, the purger of hypocrisy from the heart, and is the transcendental Kamadev, Cupid. He nourishes the pure devotees, expels dry knowledge, demolishes false bhakti, and is the reservoir of all pleasure. Hare Krishna.
So you want some sound as well, or cut it off?
I don't know.
Okay. Kali kukur kadana jadi chao hai.
Kali kukur
Kali kukur kadana jadi chao hai. Kali Yuga Pavana Kali Bhayana Shana
Kali Yuga Pavana Kali Bhayana Shana
Sri Sachinandana Go He
Sri Sachinandana Go He
Sri Sachinandana Go He
Sri Sachinandana Go He
Gadadhara Madana Nithayera Pranadana
Gadadhara Madana Nitayera Pranadana
Advaitira Prapujita
Gora
Advaita Prabhu Chita Gora
Nimai Vishwambara Srinivasa Ishvara
Nimai Vishwambara Srinivasa Ishvara
Vakata Samoha Chita Chora
Bhakta Samoha Chitta Chora
Nadia Shashadara Maya Purahishvara
Nadiya Shashadhara Mayapura Ishvara
Nadia Shashadara Maya Purahishvara
Nadiya Shashadhara Mayapura Ishvara
Nama Pravartana Sura
Nama Pravatana Sura
Nihijana Shikshaka Yashikula Nayaka
Jana Shikshaka Yasikula Nayaka
Grihijana Shikshaka Nasyakula Nayaka
Vijana Shikshaka Yasikula Nayaka
Madhava Radha Baba Pura
Madhava Radha Baba Pura
Sarvabhauma Shodana Gajapati Karana
Sarvabhauma Shodhana Gajapati Dhanana
Sarvabhauma Shodana Gajapati Karana
Sarvabhauma Shodhana Gajapati Dhanana
Ramananda Poshana Veera
Ramananda Poshana Veera
Rupananda Vardhana Sanatana Palana
Rupananda Vardhana Sanatana Palana
Rupananda Vardhana Sanatana Palana
Rupananda Vardhana Sanatana Palana
Haridasa Modana Dira
Haridasa Modana Dhira
Haridasa Modana Dira
Haridasa Modana Dhira
Jaya Brajarasa Bhavana Dushtamata Satana
Rajarasa Bhavana Dustamata Satana
Kapati Vigatana Kama
Kapati Vigatana Kama
Kapati Vigatana Kama
Kapati Vigatana Kama
Jaya Shuddha Bhakta Palana Shushka Jnana Tanana
Shubhabhakta Palana Shushka Jnana Tanana
Chala Bhakti Dushana Rama
Puritatta Dushana
Chala Bhakti Dushana Rama
Jana Bhakti Dushana Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Satchidananda Gaura Hari, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Yo Satchidananda Jaya Gaura Hari, Satchidananda Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya
Satchidananda Jaya Gaura Hari, Satchidananda Jaya Gaura Hari.
Jaya Navadwip Dham Jaya, Mayapur Dham Jaya, Navadwip Dham Jaya, Mayapur Dham Jaya.
Navadwip Dham Jaya, Mayapur Dham Jaya, Navadwip Dham Jaya, Mayapur Dham.
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam.
Beautiful, beautiful debut. Fantastic. That's a wonderful debut. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting us, and amazing program. So we'll continue listening and see you the next kirtan we have.
See you tomorrow. Haribol.